I asked a friend this morning, why is Dr. Seuss being canceled? Why is Biden eliminating Dr. Seuss from National Read Aloud Day or whatever it is? Well, something about a comic strip in 1929 and the characters of Dr. Seuss aren't diverse enough. So, as Dana Perino put it yesterday, and I thought this was a great monologue, and I can't wait to interview her in the next week or two. We don't do a lot of authors. We don't do a lot of interviews that, with the same talking heads that all the shows do. But I do want to meet Dana Perino, and you will too when we interview her about her new book. But here's what she said yesterday on The Five about cancel culture and a lot of Americans getting real fed up with it.
I think that the Democrats realize that the general election went their way for the presidency, but across the board, almost everywhere you look in America, that wasn't the case. State legislatures, the congressional offices, obviously, and some of the Senate races. And so I think that they realize that they're kind of living on borrowed time. And I think that's one of the reasons they're in such a hurry to try to get as much done as they possibly can. Cancel culture, I think, is a part of that. Do you remember when President Trump in the 2016 election said that political correctness was ruining our country? He got a huge applause line, right? And people are feeling that.
Yeah.
And so and that's not going to end. I would say that being respectful of diversity of thought has to be inclusive of everyone, including even people within your own party. Now, one thing he did not do yesterday, he did not say he's going to start a third party. There was speculation about that. And I think that his basically description of the Biden team, his critique, was pretty effective. And if Republicans can figure out a way to unify behind that, I think the Biden team would realize that they've got a tiger by its tail with all of these problems coming to the forefront. They're just focused so much on getting $1.9 trillion in relief passed before March 14th. And then they'll try to worry about the other things. But you can already see the cracks in the foundation of the Democratic unity are absolutely happening.
And there is a kind of hysteria that the left is exhibiting. John Brennan is a real reprehensible pundit, former CIA director, and some of these people, you see them interviewed and you just know how hateful they are and how much disdain they have for Republicans and conservatives and certainly Donald Trump. Here's what Brennan said yesterday to another pretty hateful lefty, Nicole Wallace, over at MSNBC. Listen to this.
Well, I must say, to Claire's point, I'm increasingly embarrassed to be a white male these days, and light of what I see of my other white males saying. But it just shows that with very few exceptions, like Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, there are so few Republicans in Congress who value truth, honesty, and integrity. And so they'll continue to gaslight the country the way that Donald Trump did. And the fact that this has such security and safety implications for the American public and for the members of Congress, again, as Claire said, it is just a disgusting display of craven politics that really should have no place in the United States in 2021.
A disgusting display of craven politics, says the man who is increasingly embarrassed to be a white male. He's embarrassed by his fellow white males, except for Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. As long as you're a never Trumper, you're okay by them. The rest of the Republicans are just void of any truth, honesty, or integrity. Now, I always have you know me, my default position is these people are really nuts. They're goofy. They're crazy. But it's not just that. It's not that simple, is it? When people were alleging that CPAC had a stage to resemble a Nazi symbol that was worn on Nazis' uniforms, I often ask myself, they don't really believe that. They can't be that crazy. Even if you hate conservatives, do you really think the organizers of CPAC would secretly scheme to have a stage design that's a Nazi symbol? If they do feel that way, they are crazy. if it's just an insidious plot to disparage political opposition, that to me is more plausible. But we know what the left does. The idea behind the left's cancel culture is we're going to eradicate, we're going to try to erase anybody we disagree with. Now, you should have heard the conversation I had this morning with my pal Mark Davis. What's wrong with Dr. Seuss? He didn't know. I could tell he didn't know. He pretended he knew, but he didn't know. Well, there's this comic strip, and apparently Biden himself didn't include Dr. Seuss in a long list of books that they always acknowledge as great children's reading on National Read Aloud Day, or whatever it's called. Now, let that sink in. There are 6 books published by the Dr. Seuss children's book series. The company that publishes Dr. Seuss's books will stop selling 6 of his titles because they contain racist and insensitive images. Honest to goodness, what could that be? Maybe it's something terrible. I don't know. Green eggs? Is green eggs racist? Green eggs and ham? I don't even know. I don't even remember enough about Dr. Seuss to know what could be offensive, but evidently Dr. Seuss Enterprises is now sufficiently woke. The company told the Associated Press last week, which was also coincided with the author, Dr. Theodore Geisel's birthday, ceasing sales of these books, which are reportedly If I Ran the Zoo, and To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, McElliot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs Super, and The Cat's Quizzer. Those 6 books are canceled now because it's part of their broader commitment and plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. So I'm assuming the characters are too white. There's not enough people of color in Whoville. Honest to goodness, you got to give me some insight on this. Back to goofy John Brennan, who's embarrassed to be a white male. Listen, maybe we should all be embarrassed to be white because Dr. Seuss is too white. I have no idea.